Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this third place match in the No Cape No Star World tournament between Seathorne and Dotsarecool. Now, we have a really good race in front of us. These guys are, well, their PBs are 1 second in between each other. And both of them have done super well in previous tournaments. Both have third place finishes as their PB in a tournament in the Super Mario World community. Seathorne managed to get third place in the previous All Castles tournament, which was the last one before this one. While Dotsarecool managed to get the third place finish in the last No Cape No Star World tournament, which was done back in 2017. And the runners are now readying up, and this race will start super soon. Now, something you will notice quite early on is that these runners are fairly similar in what strats they go for and how they choose to tackle this game and this category. Instead of going for the super optimal strats, usually they try to go for consistency instead. Which means that they pretty much end up doing the same thing for most of the run. Which I guess you can tell since their PBs are so close. But yeah, that also means that usually you don't see that many mistakes from these people. So far in this tournament, both of them have managed to knock out opponents that you would guess, based on the PB, are faster than them, or better players in this category than they are. But just based on their consistency, they manage to get these top spots. They manage to get the wins even against opponents that could be better. Now, as usual, Yoshi's Island, the first world. There isn't really much happening here. You'll see the runners try to run as much as they can on the brown platforms just to gain a few extra frames. You will see on the in-game timer at the end of this level, if they have a 259, they have done it optimally. If not, they have just lost a few frames. But yeah, not only do these runners have PBs that are super close, also both of them have gotten their PBs while this tournament have been ongoing. So both of them are in great shape. Let's see if we get a shell jump. Seathorne managed to get it. Dots attempted it as well, but just couldn't release the shell at the correct time. So Seathorne with both a 361 in the first level, which is 1 in-game second faster than what you can do if you don't have a bit of luck at the end. And getting the shell jump in Yoshi's Island 4, I mean. So, super small improvement or small lead from Seathorne, just based on that. Now, Iggy's Castle, the first level that you can actually try to optimize your movement a bit, start to gain time. Both runners getting a 281, a door in the first room, which is what you expect in this category from the top runners. Now you see that Dotsarecool chose to go for the mushroom, while Seathorne chooses to stay small. This is because in an upcoming level, that is Tunnel Plains 3, Dotsarecool are gonna go for a strat which, well, very basically use the Fire Flower. And Seathorne prefers to do that level small, since according to him it's easier. Now doing the Fire Flower strats is a little bit faster, but it's really not gonna make that much of a difference. Also, as you could see in the Iggy fight, having that Fire Flower made it so that Dotsarecool managed to get a 241 on the in-game timer instead of the 240 that Seathorne got. But as expected, no big difference in between the runners through World 1. But now the run starts real World 2. The biggest issue with this first level in World 2 is that you're so used to getting a cape, since in all the cape categories, this is where you get it. But both runners realizes which category they are doing and manages to avoid getting the cape at start. Both runners also grabbing Yoshi while keeping P-speed, but Dotsarecool jumping a little bit too early to not keeping P-speed over the yellow blocks, costing him just a tiny bit of time. Going into Dotsarecool 1, the first water level of the game, you will see both runners trying to grab some items to swim a bit faster. However, since Seathorne is small and doesn't have the fire flower to kill enemies, he will have to do some maneuvers to avoid getting hit while grabbing a block just in front of him right now. He needs this fish to go out of the way, and then he can grab it. Meanwhile, Dotsarecool can just kill the fishes and grab it. Now, as you could see, Seathorne were a bit quicker after grabbing the block than Dotsarecool managed to do. So he gained a little bit of time there, getting a 241 on the in-game timer instead of the 240 of Dotsarecool. Tiny differences, but still, they add up if you're 1 in-game second faster for all the levels. The first ghost house, it's really not that difficult. The second room, they will try to keep P-speed while bouncing on this poo to make sure that the screen scrolls up so they can actually see what they are doing. If they wouldn't manage to keep the P-speed, they would have to enter that door blind. But no issues from either runner, and now they're going into one of the hardest levels in the game. Super early on, but still a super tricky level to do fast no cape. And this is why Seathorne chose to go small in the beginning. Now you'll see that Dotsarecool are gonna have to scroll the screen later than Seathorne just did, and kill a Koopa and jumping on the platform. Meanwhile, Seathorne manages to just jump over the Koopa and then onto the platform. Both runners managed to do the strat though, without any issues, and it is beautifully done. Both getting that beautiful 262 on the timer, which means that both of them did it perfectly. Now in Donut Plains 4, you'll see the runners getting a Yoshi. You will not really need him for this level. But, oh, Seathorne dropping off, both of the runners dropping off of the pipe. What you usually want to do is keep P-speed and get a jump there, so that you can bounce on the Hammer Bro without having to wait for him. But those mistakes by the runners pretty much tied them up. Seathorne had the small lead, but we're just a tiny bit slower than Dotsarecool while getting that Hammer Bro. And now they are tied. Why they jumped off Yoshi at the end there is because that jump is quite far, and if you don't drop Yoshi, he will not make it over the edge, and you will just fall down into the pit. So what they do is they dismount Yoshi in a precise position in the air. That is just enough to get him onto the edge, and since you're jumping off Yoshi, you yourself also get a bit of a boost in the distance that you're on, and you can safely land him in on the other side of the ledge. Now, Morden's Castle, it's important to keep the fire flower here, just to be able to kill Morden a bit quicker, which is true for most of the bosses in this category. They are also grabbing the spring, so they can use it right here and bounce up. Seathorne taking a hit though from that yellow Dorito spike at the bottom when he was bouncing on the spring. And as you can see, that means that he needs to bounce 3 times on Morden, while Dots only had to bounce on him once. So Seathorne were a bit quicker through the castle, but Dot's fight were a lot quicker. And the runners are really synced up right now. It's important to notice though that Seathorne have no power-ups while Dots have 2 fire flowers. Having 1 fire flower is essential up for the next castle, otherwise you will lose a lot of time. Having 2 fire flowers is also preferred, since you'll need both of them in a upcoming castle. So what we will probably see is Seathorne grabbing a mushroom and maybe even a fire flower in this next level, which will allow Dots to gain a bit of a lead. Seathorne struggling a bit with getting his mushroom, meanwhile Dots just breezing through the level. As you can see, they're using the blue shell with Yoshi to be able to fly up to the key. And they are out of here. Now, since Seathorne struggled a bit with getting the mushroom, Dots have a bit of a lead now. But any single mistake and Seathorne will be right back up with him. Now this level is actually a bit more tricky than it seems. They need to delay just a tiny bit before jumping through the Koopas that they managed to kill. Oh, well, that they managed to jump through. And also, the green beans at the end of it have a habit of despawning. But both of the runners got through it without any issues. Now in the next level they will once again grab Yoshi. And this time they will keep him for a bit. However, this level can be a bit difficult. If you do a mistake, you will end up underneath all of these Koopas. And could easily start to lose a lot of time. Both runners managed to go over all the Koopas though, and the second half of this level really isn't that difficult. They're also keeping the shell to be able to kill this shark at the end, just for safety. Now, here, Vanilla Secret 3, you'll see the runners bouncing on a lot of dolphins. This is kind of tight movement to keep your P-speed on the dolphins, but both runners managing it perfectly. And here at the end, you can't really do much. Since there are no dolphins ahead of you, you will have to jump in the water if you want to go as quick as possible. And yeah, once again, the levels went exactly the same for both runners, both ending with a 260 on the timer. Now going into Vanilla Fort, the first and only water fort in this game, really. And with it being a water level, it's kind of slow. Usually in water levels, what we try to do is grab items to swim faster, but in this level there really isn't any item that you can get. So there isn't much you can do to make it go faster. The only thing you try to do is hold right all the time while avoiding getting hit. And also, the Resno fight at the end of this is something you can affect and perhaps gain a few frames on the opponent on. But with how experienced both of these runners are, I expect the Resno fights to be pretty much the same. No, I would say that the Resno were a bit kinder to Dots than Seathorne. The fireballs on Seathorne's side were a bit more tricky than the ones Dots had to handle. But overall, not that difficult, and both runners are out of there. And unfortunately, they are going into the longest autoscroller in the game. And it's also the most boring level. In this run, at least. You will see the runners trying to have a bit of fun, trying to entertain themselves through the long, slow autoscroller. hopefully they will show off some cool stuff that can entertain you as viewers as well. But otherwise, if you want to grab some water or get a snack or something, this is the perfect time for it. Also, while they are in this level, I can just briefly mention that earlier on in this tournament, Dotsarecool managed to win his race against Calco, who is the world record holder of this category. And that win is what sent him to this game, really. It was the quarterfinals, which Dots won then to reach the semifinals, where he lost against Louis. Louis, who is second placed on the leaderboard. So he have not had an easy run to get to this point, but he have managed to do it. Meanwhile, Seathorne in his semifinal went up against Lost Core, who is third place on the leaderboard, who is also in the grand finals now. And yeah, it just shows that both runners really do deserve to have this spot. And both of them make it out. They keep Yoshi, they don't manage to fall asleep during the level and do a mistake. And now the run actually continues. What you will see here is them eating a few Super Koopas, that they are called, on the way running forward. And then they jump here to grab the blue shell to fly through the second half of the level. Seathorne struggling a bit, missing the shell, and then on the way back grabbing the shell but managed to kill it. And eventually he managed to grab it and is able to fly. Now that will cost him some time, but instead of going on without flying, I think he made the right choice to go back for the shell. If you have practiced it and if you know what you're doing, you can go on without the shell. But it really isn't easy. And since it's not something you do in PB attempts usually, it's not something that people are that practiced with. Now Ludwig's Castle. Here it is important that both runners keep their fire flowers. If they get hit anywhere in this level, they will lose a lot of time in the boss fight itself. This is the only boss that after you bounce on it, he will go into a shell animation and will be invulnerable for quite a long time. So if you do not have 5 flowers, you will just have to jump on him once, you will lose 12 seconds. But a beautiful castle from Dots. Just shooting him with the fireballs, and then one bounce and he's dead. Seathorne, meanwhile, getting a little bit stuck on one of the cages, but overall a beautiful castle from him as well. A little bit slower than Dots, but not by much. So going into what you can call the second half of the run, Dots do have a small lead, but there are several levels that are coming up that really could make them even again. And especially a level 2 levels from now, where they need to have luck on their side to do it optimally. But first, going into First Evolution 1, this level is infamous for the hitbox of the Wrigglers, the enemies that you saw there at the start, just scrolling around the ground. You see that when eating them, Dots are jumping, and that is because the hitbox, the Wriggler can actually hurt you while you are eating it, because of the hitbox is that bad. But if you jump, you're safe. Also here at the end, this hammer bro, jumping between the hammers and bouncing on the hammer bro, is super tight. Seathorne with a beautiful flower grab. He will need that second flower for the castle in this level. Well, in this world, I mean. And that is the quickest fire flower that you can get. Both runners getting through the level perfectly. But yeah, now, Forced Evolution 2, you will see the runners trying to clip through the ground here and get out of bounds. And this is why they have Yoshi. And what they are doing here is just, well, beautiful of dots. Getting that first try is just a 75% chance, even if you do it correctly. So you do need a bit of luck on your side. It's dependent on sub-pixels and that sort, so you can't really do all... Well, you do need to rely on having good sub-pixels. And you can manipulate it a bit, but it's not a certainty. But both runners getting the clip first try, which means that no runner will lose the run or lose the race based on luck. Which always makes me happy. And you can really see how much faster you go on the water if you hold an item. Just the transition from when they grab the key and compare it to before. And you see how much speed they gain. Now watch Dot's screen. I think he will go for a wall jump. And he attempted it, but he did miss it. Usually wall jumps are super inconsistent, but in this level at the start, the sub-pixels line up perfectly for you to be able to do it. It's still a one-frame trick, but at least you know that you have the correct sub-pixels so that you only need to hit that one frame. Seathorne also went for it, but didn't get it, so none of the runners managed to shove it off. Overall, though, a beautiful level by both runners. The most difficult part of the level is the ending there, bouncing on the Goomba and getting up to the pipe to go through and get the key. Now, Roy's Castle. This is the reason for why they chose to have a backup fire flower. You see how slow it is to just ride on this block snake, and after they reach the first part of solid ground, you will see that it will take a damage boost and run over some spikes. But because they have a backup fire flower, they will manage to keep that fire flower, or grab that fire flower while taking damage, and therefore have a fire flower for the boss even though they took damage. So here you see Dots jumping just before the invulnerability from taking damage disappears. And just running through the rest of the level and going to the boss. And Seathorne also gets the damage boosts without any issues. And at the end, I think you can see that there are quite big gaps. The game intends to have 3 of those expanding block bridges. But since the players are running so fast, some of the bridges do despawn. And it have happened to runners that, well, the 2 last ones despawn, so they are super... Well, it's super difficult to get through and get to the boss. Luckily, both runners managed to do it. And only, like, as long as the middle bridge is up there, you usually do manage to do it. Chocolate Island 1. It doesn't look that difficult when you're looking at it. But the jumps that runners do here is quite tight and quite tricky. I was watching the runners just before the race, and both of them did warm up this level quite a bit. And especially the ending here, if you do a mistake, you will lose a lot of time, usually. Either losing that fire flower as the best option, or you will fall into a pit. But a beautiful 262 from Dots, and it seems like Seathorne is gonna get the same. In this ghost house, you will see that in the first room, what you will do is just try to avoid taking damage. Now, with this fishing bow above them, it can be a bit tricky. And, ooh, he's just turning around and hitting Dots. And he loses the mushroom as well. That means that Dots can't go for the most common strat in the second room if he doesn't grab the mushroom at the start here. And he does. Some people prefer to go for the small only strats at the second room here, where you don't take the damage boost. But in a race like this, I do understand that that he chose to go for the damage boost instead, since it is safer. But yeah, since they take damage in the ghost house, the runners will now be small for a bit, for the entirety of this stage. Now, the only thing that is scary in this stage really is the third room, which usually isn't any issues. But if you do a mistake, you can end up being in between all of these throwing shocks. And it can be a bit difficult to get out of there without losing a lot of time or taking a death. But beautiful level by both runners, and going into Chocolate Secret. Dots getting that midway, and both of the runners here will try to gain P-speed on this slope. And Dot's actually choosing not to. In this game, you fall faster if you have P-speed, so you see Seathorne right now having P-speed and going a bit quicker downwards than Dots did. Dots went for a safer strat where you just glide down the stairs, or the slopes. So Seathorne did make up a little bit of time there. Also here, the last room of this level is infamous for these slopes at the end that Dots are at right at the moment. They can eat your inputs, and Dots lost his P-speed there. And I think that was because he was afraid of getting his input eaten and falling into the lava, so instead he chose to slow down just to be safe and make it through there. But yeah, a few small, maybe not mistakes, but safer strats from Dots have allowed Seathorne to catch up a bit here. So they are super, super close again. Now you see the runners on purpose taking damage and going through, well, underneath the crushers. And I do not know if you still hear me, but for me, the stream has died for a bit, so I do not know what's happening at the moment. Okay, I am back, and somehow Dots took a death. My stream didn't work at the moment, so I have no idea how he died, which I'm sorry for. But yeah, that does give Seathorne quite a lead. And yeah, Seathorne is done with the castle, with quite a big lead over Dots because of those two deaths. Now on the third try, Dots made it through that second room, as you're supposed to. That second room of Wendy's castle is really difficult to do optimally. So I'm not super surprised that something ended up happening there. But since I couldn't see the first step, which is the important one, really difficult to say anything about it. But yeah, now the ghost house, ghost ship. The first part here, Seathorne will try to line up a boo cloud that is coming up in such a way that a boo ring will despawn at the end, and that he can damage boost through the second boo ring. That setup that he just did looked good. So I do believe that his boo cloud is in the correct position. we will see right now. And yeah, he will get the despawn. So just right in front of him here, over the spikes, there's supposed to be a boo ring. But because of the setup that he did, it's disappeared. And that means that he can just lose his mushroom here and swim through the second boo ring without waiting. And Seathorne showing off how you can save time in this falling section by not grabbing the star and saving a bit of lag. Since there are so many enemies, grabbing that star just makes the game lag. And skipping it, therefore, is a bit faster. Now, Dotsarecool managed to get both the boo rings to despawn. Which is a super tight setup. I'm not sure that he went for it. But he managed to do it anyway. And Seathorne grabbed the orb. It looked like Dots also tried to avoid getting the star, but didn't manage to. So he's falling a little bit slower through here. Seathorne struggling a bit at the start of Wob 1, getting up the stairs there. But nice recovery, and now he's on run. Well, now he's exactly where he wants to be. Now, going into the next level, with a lead as big as this, I'm not sure if Seathorne will go for the strat we call sandbar clip. It's a strat in the second room of the next level, where you can clip through the sandbar and save 12 seconds. If Dots wouldn't have died in the castle, I am sure that he would have gone for it. That clip is actually what made him lose the semifinals. He was tied with Lost Core up until that sandbar, which we'll see right now. But then he missed the clip and Lost Core got it and saved 12 seconds there. But he's lining up for it, so let's see if he goes. And I do think that he attempted it, but we're a little bit late. It's a super tight trick, so it's difficult to do. But at least he missed it in such a way that he survived. You can miss that trick and just die, getting crushed towards the ceiling. Now, I would expect Dotsarecool to go for it as well. Let's see if he lines up. Oh, yeah. It's looked like he was gonna go for it, but got a bit stuck, and at that point he couldn't really save any time with it anyway, so he aborted. And you can see how slow this sandbar is. What the trick that they were going for would do is saving them one cycle in the sandbar. But yeah, second to last level for Seathorne. It's a quite tricky, but also fun level to do. He will try to keep P-speed through all of it by running back and forth in between all of these crushers. Since you need to, you can't just go right since you need to wait. So it can be tricky to keep P-speed. But so far he has managed to do it. Skipping one crusher cycle there, and I think he's gonna be satisfied with that fort. That fireball was a little bit in the way, but Seathorne managed to avoid it. So overall, a beautiful fort from Seathorne. Now you can also see Dots running back and forth, keeping that P-speed, bouncing on the Buddha boost over the lava, which you lose a lot of time if you don't test P-speed for. And going into the rest of fights. Meanwhile, you see Seathorne going into the Bowser fight. The final part of this run, and the last Bowser fight that he's gonna do in this tournament. Now, with a lead as big as this, the only thing that would make Dotsarecool able to catch up is if Seathorne would die here in this boss fight. But it's not many people that do die in the boss fight. The only one that comes to mind is in chat right now. And Seathorne getting the first cycle beautifully, keeping that Mecha Koopa so he can do a skip in the second phase. So Bowser is now going to start dropping bowling balls towards Mario. But keeping this Mecha Koopa means that he can do a skip, which makes it so that Bowser only drop one bowling ball instead of two before dropping Mecha Koopas again. And since dropping the bowling balls takes a lot of time, it will save quite a lot of time that it managed to get. And there you have it. He threw the Mecha Koopa at the correct time before, so only one bowling ball and then back to Mecha Koopas. And now Seathorne only have one phase left of Bowser before he can claim the bronze medal. One hit left. Will we see the Mecha Koopas drop? And there we have it. GG and congrats to Seathorne for third place in this tournament. With a time of 35:30. It's super respectable race time. 20 seconds off his personal best. And now let's watch Dotsarecool do the last phase. He got the first Mecha Koopa hits instantly, grabbing the second one, and he has done it as well. GG Dotsarecool. Now, I do expect that the runners are gonna join for interviews, but I'm not sure, so we will see if they are gonna join. But yeah, this was a really good race by both runners. Super close up until that death in Wendy from Dots. And Seathorne just didn't do any major mistake like that, which gave him the win in the end. And here we have Seathorne.
Hello.
Congrats on the win, man.
Thank you. That was a pretty exciting race.
Yeah, and you guys were close for most of it.
Yeah, I think it was like we kept on making some very similar mistakes, and so we were just getting tied back and forth within like a second or so.
That feels to be quite common for your races.
I guess so. And then
So,
I was trailing him by like a pretty constant amount, I guess, after I needed to get the Fire Flower in VD1, and I lost some time, and I was a little bit behind, and then I was about the same amount behind all the way up to maybe Choco Ghost House, and then I caught up a little bit more, and then up until Windy. We're very close.
yeah, I would say that especially Chocolate Island overall gained time. Just small optimizations, I guess, even before the Ghost House. Oh, well, the Ghost House is pretty early on, but still. So, how does it feel to get third place again? You got it in the last tournament as well.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
It's good. I guess I'm pretty good at losing against like Silver Star or Louis or Steven. And then they end up in top 2.
So you're the best of the rest. Is that what you're trying to say?
I guess so.
So I guess that you're satisfied with your performance in the tournament overall.
Yeah, I didn't think I would do this well in the No Cape No Star World tournament just because I don't play this category all too much. But it's definitely... I think in the last No Cape No Star World tournament I had more matches where I died in DP3. And you know, if you die in DP3, it's kind of just... If you die and your opponent doesn't, you're just like 40 seconds behind instantly or something. So
Yeah.
that's always sad to happen because then you're just behind the whole race unless they make another huge mistake. So I'm glad that... I think that only happened on my first match in this tourney.
Yeah, I think that we, Carrick, actually have kept track of how many deaths there have been in DP3 in the entire tournament. I think that he will reveal that after the grand finals.
Yeah, I'm interested to see that count.
But yeah, are you surprised or about Dot's performance, or did he get about the run that you expected him to get?
I think, I mean, neither of us expected the death in Wendy, but if he had played without the death in Wendy, I think we would have ended up within a few seconds of each other. I don't know who would have won overall, but we would have been very close with like a mid 35 still. And that's about what I was expecting for both of us. Just because he and I have pretty similar PBs, and we've both gotten some mid 35s in the tourney previous matches.
I would say that 1 second apart is, yeah, quite similar PBs. But yeah, we're gonna have the grand finals on Saturday at 5 p.m. Do you have a guess for that one? Or prediction for how it's gonna go?
I'm thinking it might go to best of 3. Or like go to the 3rd game. Because I could see both of them making some small mistake and then just staying behind the whole time. You know, and then just ending up with like 3 similar matches. I hope we see a 34 though.
I do expect that we're gonna see a 34. At least one overall, like throughout all of the races. But yeah, if you do have to choose a winner, who will it be?
I'd say Lost Core, just because he does a lot with no cape categories.
Yeah, I think I would actually go with the same.
But we'll have to see.
Yeah. And yeah, is there anything else that you would like to say?
Not really. Thanks for the restream on short notice, and thanks for commentating too.
Well, you're welcome.
And GG to Dots for the race.
Yeah, and congrats again for getting that 3rd place.
Thank you.
And with that, I think that we are done. Tune in on Saturday at 5 p.m. for the finals. And thanks for watching, everyone.